So today we're going to be talking about, on the screen, backup disaster recovery and what you can do to protect your data. So essentially what that's going to entail, or like what backup disaster recovery is, the process of backing up your data to protect against data loss. Now that can be from anything like natural disasters, like we had Hurricane Irma come by, and you get flooding and it happened to catch a bunch of your systems. That would be data lost as well. Or malicious software, everybody's heard of ransomware, things like that. Or just regular hardware failure. Hard drives fail all the time. It's a thing that happens pretty frequently. But the things you can do is just do backups, and this kind of helps mitigate a lot of that. That's really the only surefire way to prevent data loss from any of these things, is just having good backups. There's different kinds of backup solutions. Main ones that we're going to cover, the only two that there really are, is there's on-site and off-site. Now your on-site backups are going to be like USB. It's going to be like having a USB hard drive that does like the Windows backup thing. Or sometimes you'll have a network device that does backups. It could be like a NAS that does it, or there's other services, things like that. Or even if you just have like your QuickBooks copied over to a USB drive. It's basically any backup that's still at that location where all the data is held. You can turn some of those into an offsite backup by taking that hard drive home, so it's not technically at that same location. Or what we'll do sometimes is we'll do a backup when a hurricane is coming that looks especially bad, and we'll let you pick that drive if you're heading out of state or something like that. There's another backup that's now off-site. But then you have off-site backups, which again, you can kind of take those USB drives and remove them. But the better off-site backup, or what I mostly refer to when I say off-site backup, is going to be your cloud backup. So these are backups that are stored in data centers, various services, things like that. Those are going to be more robust because, again, it's on a data center somewhere that's going to be redundant. So it's on systems that are, again, redundant. So you don't have to worry too much about hardware failure or anything like that. You don't have to worry about the physical site itself being destroyed. And all your data is still somewhere else. You don't like to entirely rely on just one or the other, on on-site or off-site. You kind of better solutions are going to be the ones that are a combination of the two. You really got to do redundancy with these a lot of times, depending on your use case. So to get more into detail on like on-site backups, that's going to be just, I guess for the most layman terms, that's going to use a copy of your data on more than one PC or device or anything like that. That's the most simple one that you'll see, where it's, again, you have a copy of your QuickBooks backup on a flash drive or on a USB drive or something like that. So that way it's on your computer and it's on some other device. Or other times you can do imaging, which you can also do a lot of times. Like Windows does it not very well from our practice, but it can do it, where it does an image backup. And what that essentially is basically exactly how your computer is set up in its entirety, all being backed up. So instead of it just being those Word documents or like a PowerPoint documents or your QuickBooks, it's going to be the programs that are installed, all of the settings that you have, like basically everything. Usually with an image, you can, in some cases, recover using the image, and it's like your PC didn't change from whatever the time that image was taken. So usually imaging is going to be the better of the two kind of systems, depending on what it is that you're doing. If you really don't care about like the different programs, you don't use a whole lot of like various programs that need to be backed up or anything, it's just like your Word documents and stuff. You can do replication, that is just copying the data in multiple places using different services and stuff like that. Whereas imaging we find to be a lot more applicable to either servers or if you're hosting a lot of stuff on one system. So if you're like hosting your QuickBooks from one computer, you might want to image that one, so that way all the settings and everything are retained and along with the data. And then moving on to offsite backups, we get more into detail with that. You can, again, it's the same thing as like before, where you're kind of replicating the data or you're having a copy on multiple systems. You can do the exact same thing where you have a copy on just in the cloud. So you have a copy of your files on your computer and they're in the cloud. That's very much like our SJC workplace, which used to be our SJC. That is where there's a copy of the files on all the computers, and then there's also a copy in the cloud. So every computer, something happens to all of them all at once. So if we say hurricane comes through and wipes out the building, there's still a copy of your data in the cloud. Or if just one computer ends up getting messed up or something, we have the data from that computer in the cloud, and then also the main working files will be on all the other computers as well. So it kind of gives you a quicker option for getting some of that data back onto that computer and stuff. Then there's cloud imaging. It's the same thing as before with imaging, it's just the images are then stored in the cloud. Now there are some solutions that will take these images and do really cool things, like basically start up a virtual version of your computer or your server, and it'll do it either on a device that's local, like on your network on site, or it can do it in the cloud as well. And that could be very useful for kind of bringing things back up and running a lot sooner, while we try to go ahead and either replace the hardware, repair the hardware, things like that. So now I'm going to basically go over what our BDR solutions, that's backup disaster recovery solutions, are, since we have kind of a basic knowledge of you have your on-site and your off-site kind of backups, and you have your replicating the data, and you have your imaging. So what services do we have that take advantage of these different styles of backing up? We have at the bare minimum, a self-managed solution, which is just a cloud backup. All it does is just pick files. It doesn't do images or anything. It just picks folders, backs it up, and it usually the end user will be like you or whoever has the backup. They have to keep up on it and check it. A lot of times, what we end up seeing is it's kind of like when you get your kids their first car and they have to stay up on maintenance. They tend to not do that. So some people, they can stay on top of like self-managing their backups, but a lot of people are just too busy thinking about other things. And when it comes around to check their backups, say like after a month or after a couple of weeks or something like that, they've already forgotten about it. And what we like to say is your backups are only as good as the most recent one that you were able to recover from. So that's basically whatever the most recent one that you've been able to actually get data off of, that's your best backup. And that's how you know that it's good. If you haven't done that in a while, then there's really, you can't say that you have a backup because you haven't confirmed it. Now we move into our more managed solutions. These ones you don't have to think about. Basically, as far as your side goes, it's set it and forget it because we remember it. Or we get notified about it, or we tend to monitor quite a bit of it. So you have like the SJC managed file backup. It's very much like the previous one. It's just we manage it instead. So it's again folders and stuff on the computer that we're going to. So that's like your documents, favorites, things like that. It's all going to be backed up straight to the cloud. And then if there's any issues, like if one fails, we get notified about it. We go ahead and try to resolve the issue. If it's something that involves you or anything like that, you're notified as well. But for the most part, that kind of stuff don't really come into many issues. They can't be solved fairly quickly with that kind of backup. The only downside to just these top two solutions, where it's just a file backup in the cloud, is data recovery can take some time, because if it's a lot of data that's going up into the cloud, to get it back, you have to download it all. So you might be downloading like 10, 20, 30 gigabytes of data, which depending on your internet speed might take a couple of days. That's where you can kind of come in, and we have the SJC managed image backup. The nice thing about that is we can kind of when it's going to take images, so it's going to remember all your programs and settings and things like that, which is very useful because it cuts down on a lot of time of trying to get a bunch of those softwares and stuff reconfigured back from scratch. One of the other nice things is taking an image of it. We can spin that up a lot of times, or start that system up, get you access to it, and then you can start using it at least while we get, like, say, computers replaced, or if it's your whole building's taken down, then we have something you can get on to continue doing something. That's really what a lot of these are. When you get towards these bottom ones, it's about not just having a copy of the data, but having that turnaround of when something happens, getting you back to being working sooner. And that's where we come to our most robust solution, which is Replicate. It's on and off-site imaging. So what that is we have a device that actually sits there on your network, takes images of servers or systems that we pick. We usually do this for the most important ones. And it'll take an image of that system and copy it over to this other computer that's sitting there. From there, it'll actually copy that up to the cloud. So you have a system like our backup that's on site and then a backup that's also in the cloud, because it's going to be the exact same one. The really cool thing about this one is, say your computer's destroyed or something happens, we can again start up that virtual machine on that system that's in the office there. So that gets you a lot better access to the data, back kind of working while, say, we replace the computer or something, or the server. This has happened a few times where we've had clients who their servers have been subjected to ransomware, and within a couple of hours, we have them back up and running while we go ahead and repair the server. And then within 24, 48 hours, we have their old server, or like their server back up and running just as it was, and they're back to working. For the most part, the only disruption that you see is like just for like the first couple of hours, and then maybe a bit of time as we switch everything back to the server from the virtual machine. So that solution is going to be primarily for, again, very, very important, either end user computer or primarily servers is what we tend to use it for. And it's the most robust system. The other things like the managed file backup or managed image backups, those are going to be really good for those end user PCs. Even the ones that are like decently important, where you just need either an image or files of those systems backed up. We mostly do that with those, because a lot of times it's when the server goes down or something like that, that's affecting everybody in the company. When a specific computer goes down, usually that's affecting that one person, and we can get them back up and running in some way relatively quickly while we try to get all the data back. Other than that, that's pretty much the gist of backups and backup disaster recovery. If you guys have any questions, you can go ahead and shoot those down in the chat here, or I'll go ahead and try to answer them to the best of my ability. And there's no such thing as dumb questions. I mean, there are, but really there aren't. But sometimes there are.
Christina said, thank you and have a great day.
Oh, you too.
Okay, so it looks like we don't have any questions on the board.
Okay. All right. Well, if you guys think of any other questions or anything, you have our phone number, our email here. We have a chat on our website. If you go there, you can always just chat us. And we'll be happy to answer any questions or anything like that you guys think of. Like if you want anything like prices or anything like that on any of our backup solutions, just hit us up on sales at SJC Tech, give us a call, or again, you can chat. And yeah, let us know. Or even if you know somebody that you know doesn't have backups, or you don't know if they really have backups, or that's a concern that they have, go ahead and send them our way. We have plenty of solutions that fit lots of people. So yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
All right. Well, you guys have a good rest of the day.